Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to tit-bits on business and finance with me. The World Bank doing business rankings are much sought after by nations as an independent and unbiased testimonial to their domestic business environment in order to attract investors, in order to get lenders. Nations actually work and lobby hard in order to improve their World Bank ease of doing business rankings, EODB as we call them, just as the Modi regime has done with India's rankings of ease of doing business, going up by 79 positions between 2014 to 2019. These World Bank rankings are based on parameters of a nation's regulatory and legal environment, on the ease of start of business there, on its financing environment, infrastructure, and other business climate measures in order to rank the nation's overall business environment. We at HW have always questioned the veracity and relevance of these World Bank rankings, which to us often truly do not reflect the ground realities of a nation. For example, under this tick in the box approach, India's overall ranking is based on the business situation on surveys conducted in Mumbai and Delhi alone, which certainly do not reflect the business environment of entire India. The business ecosystem of Delhi and Mumbai is very different from that of industrial and business cities of say Jodhpur, Moradabad, Tirupur, Coimbatore, Surat, Indore, etc. And the rankings are thus flawed and divested of the ground realities that we experience and that we know of. Moreover, since governments showcase these rankings as proof of success of their policies and performance, unethical and illegitimate practices and lobbying to get improved rankings from the World Bank have never been ruled out. If such rankings do not reflect the prevailing situation in a nation, then they are of mere what we call theoretical and cosmetic value, and the decisions of investors and lenders do not actually get influenced by them. We think it is a myth that these rankings are very seriously taken, and we wonder why nations go for them with such seriousness. With apparent gaps between the ranks and the reality, there are bound to be doubts about the very integrity and genuineness of the ranks given by the World Bank. The trust and faith in these rankings has actually been weak, and the first murmur of a flaw or a bias in these ranks came in 2018, when the then chief economist of World Bank, Mr. Paul Romer, voiced his concerns about the integrity of the Doing Business 2018 report of the World Bank. He said that the report was actually biased against Chile. While Paul Romer quit the World Bank thereafter, his opinion perhaps encouraged others in the system to reveal a far more serious malpractice in the grant of such rankings by the World Bank. It was in June 2020 that reports surfaced of serious data irregularities in the Doing Business reports of 2018 and 2020, very clearly implying that the ranks given by the World Bank had been tampered, they had been manipulated for the benefit of certain specific nations. It led the World Bank to immediately pause these reports. In a statement thereafter in August 2020, the World Bank confirmed that a number of irregularities had been reported regarding illegitimate and prohibited data changes in 2018 and 2020 reports, obviously to manipulate the rankings in favor of a particular country. These changes, it said, were inconsistent with the doing business methodology of the World Bank. The bank said that it was pausing the publication of the reports and it was conducting a systematic review and assessment of the data changes of the reports in the past 5 years. The World Bank then commissioned its internal audit department to review its process of data collection and the controls that it exercised in order to safeguard the integrity of the data on the basis of which such reports were issued, such ranks were given. Its internal ethics committee also appointed a law firm called WilmerHale to independently review the internal circumstances which had led to the alleged data irregularities and the manipulation of the rankings given. The investigation report of WilmerHale was released yesterday, and its findings directly implicate the former World Bank CEO, Ms. Kristalina Georgieva, for pressurizing its team to tamper data and change the report in order to significantly improve China's rankings in 2018 as compared with its rankings that were given during the previous year 2017. Reports say that China's ease of doing business rankings had fallen in 2018 as compared to those of the previous year, but by virtue of such manipulation, they were improved to 78 rank in 2018 as against 85 rank which was given in the 2017 report. The report further says that Kristalina pressurized the World Bank staff directly and indirectly in order to change the report data and methodology to boost China's rank. In other words, the China rankings were tampered and they were made better, and they were of course false. They were not what they were given to be. And that was done by giving more marks to China than that were permitted under the methodology for its new secured transactions law, and also by giving extra weightage to the business climate in China, in Beijing and Shanghai for a better ease of doing business ranking to that nation. It is said that the bank even toyed with the idea of including the data of Hong Kong and Taiwan in case such tampering was not good enough to improve the ranking of ease of doing business to China's satisfaction. This blatant manipulation of data and ranking was done to placate China at a time when the bank badly needed its support to increase its paid-up capital by $13 billion that year. The report says that the data was tampered and tinkered in order to please China at the behest of its then CEO Kristalina, who now happens to be the managing director of the International Monetary Fund. The report also mentions of pressures to alter the data and rankings of Saudi Arabia, of the UAE and Azerbaijan, and that could be the reason why Saudi Arabia's rankings jumped by 30 notches in a single year from 92 in 2019 to 62 in 2020. While Kristalina expectedly said that she fundamentally disagreed with the findings and the interpretation of the report, the US Treasury Department, as the biggest shareholder of the World Bank and the IMF, however, said that it was analyzing what it calls very serious findings. The World Bank then said that after a review of these findings, it had decided to discontinue the annual doing business report, and that going forward, it will adopt a new approach to assessing the business and investment climate of nations before any such rankings are given. In other words, it is bound to come up with an entirely new methodology so as to protect data integrity and the integrity of ranks given by it. Financial institutions and their top executives are expected to be role models of integrity and trust, but they are often found to be not so. The rot in banks and financial institutions is often found to start from the top, and this episode of data tampering at the behest of Kristalina just confirms that. Incidentally, in the case of the IMF and the World Bank, this is not the first time that integrity has been violated by those at the top. Kristalina Georgieva is in the dubious company of Paul Wolfowitz, who stepped down as the World Bank president in 2007 on charges of his involvement in arranging what is called out-of-turn pay and promotion for his then companion. She is also in the company of Dominic Strauss-Kahn, who resigned as the head of International Monetary Fund in 2011 on charges of sexual assault in a New York hotel room. Of course, these charges were later dropped, but the fact that such kind of charges came did not suit the head of an IMF. And of course, she's also in the dubious company of the former IMF chief Christine Lagarde, who was convicted of negligence in a multi-million-dollar deal by a Paris court in 2016. Christine Lagarde was incidentally later appointed as the head of the European Central Bank, perhaps because though convicted by the court, she was neither fined nor jailed. The larger picture according to us is that whether it is credit ratings or the ease of doing business rankings or auditor reports or government data or bank appraisals for loans or any other data or report from an independent body, We generally expect them to be statements of truth, but they often are not so, and they do lack integrity. There is a deficit of integrity in them. They are often deliberately flawed and manipulated, which has led to the erosion of public trust in them. Such integrity deficit of CEOs has often led to the downfall of banks and institutions, which has been the story of ILFS, Yes Bank, public sector banks, and many others in India in recent times. Even the topmost CEOs need to be therefore put under constant surveillance and vigilance, because unbridled CEOs without controls become powerful and corrupt, as we have seen in the case of Chanda Kochar, as we saw in the case of Rana Kapoor, Ravi Parthasarathi, etc., all of whom tampered, manipulated, and falsified data, which led to their own downfall, as also of the institutions that they headed. With this report, of course, the ease of doing business rankings given by the World Bank will be always taken with a ton of salt, as we had always suggested earlier. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.